So what I've done now in my dialogue with you as a customer or as a business is to understand your current situation. I'll then follow that up with a question around the pains that you have within that organisation. So you've described the situation. What I'm really interested in now is understanding where the potential problem areas are. And quite often in sales situations we use the little phrase, so tell me, what keeps you awake at night? And this is where we start to dig into the gut feel of who I'm talking to, and to understand where they see the issues and concerns in the business. So typical response to that in our situation, talking to you as a business, and I know this from many conversations I've had with our channel partners, is there enough in my pipeline coming in to feed the business and keep us working? Well, that goes back to the three different parts. Is there enough coming in? That's a question of working with the marketing team, isn't it? Are there new leads? And if so, what's the quantity? Is it easy to map what you're doing to the SAP product portfolio? So maybe it's difficult to generate leads if the SAP product's always changing, and it's difficult then to create the right offer. But assuming we've got some leads, then what's the next area of problem that you face? Well, it's perhaps around that route to close. And then the problem is that we don't seem to follow a consistent sales approach. And because of all the changes, we're always having to take salespeople off onto training courses, so we sort of slow down the engagement with the customer. And that in itself is a problem. And the third problem you might have is about the value proposition. How easy is it to craft one that adds so much value to the customer that they will always buy from you? So those are three areas that we might identify problems in. And so if I was taking a classic sales approach here, I would talk to you about, well, that's all very interesting, so what you need is, and I would start to provide you some solutions. On the first point, you need some better marketing, maybe some different campaigns. Maybe one of the problems you also had was that the SAP portfolio is constantly changing, so maybe you need to be focusing on one area. The route to close. Classically, this is about having a good, well understood, common sales methodology and approach. But hang on, what I've done here is I've jumped from problem to solution. And as we were saying before, what I really need to do before I start positioning some form of solution to you in our dialogue, whether that's in conversation or through written media, before I provide that solution, I need to understand the implication of the pains that you have. And at this stage, I can do that either by talking to you about what the benchmark norms are, so what can your industry achieve, or we could do some investigation about what you could do in your specific business. In this case, given I'm talking to you about your business as a channel partner, I would take you back to those opening comments that I had and the quotes that we had from various sales organisations involved in SME within SAP, and say, here are some benchmark figures of what other people have been able to achieve. Now, these might not be absolutely right for you, but they're indicative. They show you where you could go. If we were to apply these, or even 50% of these, to your business, what would that gain you? If you remember, the first one was 10 to 15% more opportunities to work on through using a value-based engagement in marketing. Then we had a second one around the ability to save time, and the third one was around winning more deals that we were already on. So I use those benchmark figures, I relate them to you. Now we've quantified what some of these issues could be worth to you. You're going to be more interested in hearing about my solution. In this case, I hope you're more interested about hearing about what value selling is and how you can use it in your organisation. So where does value selling sit? And I talked earlier about pain-based selling, and a lot of you are currently engaged in that. In SAP, I see it all the time. We go and talk to customers, we identify a few pains, we get pre-sales in to do a demonstration of some solutions, and then we sit down and we negotiate. And that negotiation quite often leads to price negotiation. We can take that up one level and start to negotiate on some of the benefits and talk about the intangibles and say, yes, we can improve the way you sell. But again, it's very difficult for that board of directors who don't understand that particular business issue to quantify what are you really going to do. So value selling is about providing that next layer up, which is, yes, we're going to improve your sales process, and through working together, we've identified that this means an increase of revenues, increase of profitability of X euro, Y pounds, Z dollars, whatever. But value selling can go one stage beyond this as well, because quite often it's not enough just to be able to close a deal. As we've all identified, a major challenge within the SME community is making sure we have opportunities to work on. How do you do that? You need to provoke action. You need to get people to think, crikey, there's something I need to be doing in my business. And that provocation is about giving them benchmark data, about comparing them to some of their peers and saying, is this really where you want to be? For some customers, they're already ahead of their peers. And in that case, maybe this is your opportunity to qualify out, like we saw earlier. One of the partners we talked to said, absolutely, if we can't quantify a benefit early on, why are we pursuing the opportunity? The prospect has no compelling reason to change. So they qualify out and save themselves time which can be used on another opportunity where they have managed to quantify the benefit and that they can win. So I remind you, use the provocation as a way of ensuring that you are on well-qualified opportunities.